So what I want to talk to you about this morning is scoliosis. This is a sideways curvature of the spine. I've got an illustration here. A sideways curvature of the spine. So a lot of people have forward, backward curvatures of the spine. More unusual is scoliosis where there's a sideways curvature. And there's two places that you can get a curve. One is in the upper back. Usually this is the place where there's the strongest curve between the shoulder blades. And then very often there's some kind of curvature in the lower back, in the kind of lower thoracic lumbar vertebrae as well. And this can happen to all kinds of varying degrees, from just like a slightly out of line spine to really being very, very marked and really distorting the whole kind of torso, which is obviously very noticeable. We'll maybe put up a couple of pictures of people who have that more severe scoliosis so that you can see what that's like. So there are these two curvatures, one between the shoulder blades in the upper spine, and very often, but not always, one in the lower spine as well. This is a problem that most often occurs during teenage times, or it often starts during teenage times, more often in girls than boys. And it's as if the straight spine, there's not enough energy to hold the spine up, to hold the body up, and then it starts kind of crumpling. So it can happen to all different degrees. If it starts happening quite severely, then obviously as the spine collapses, it starts putting pressure on the internal organs, and it's a serious problem. In Western medicine, it doesn't understand the cause of why this happens, and the way it approaches it is, if it's mild, it may not do anything, may wait and see what happens. If people enter adulthood with a mild scoliosis, often it doesn't get much worse. It doesn't progress very much. But if there's a strong scoliosis, you can imagine if the spine starts collapsing, then what can happen is as people get older through that adulthood, it collapses further and becomes more and more marked, and then can start creating problems with mobility and also putting pressure on the internal organs. So it's something that needs to be done at some point. If it's becoming severe in teenage times or later on, the most common approach in Western medicine is to put in some metal rods, some titanium rods in the back, which go down either side of the spine and are attached to the ribs, and help to hold the spine straighter, which is quite a obviously a major operation. I've seen quite a lot of people with scoliosis. I've seen people who have had several operations. Obviously has quite a major impact on the body. So not a very common problem, but but there's quite a lot about. So we need to try and understand the cause of this problem from an Oriental medicine point of view, from a macrobiotic point of view. So for some reason the spine is collapsing, and this is because there's not enough energy to hold the spine up straight. If you're ill or very tired, you have experienced how it takes energy just to sit up or to stand up. All we want to do is lie down. So it takes energy to stand up, to hold ourselves erect. A lot of different muscles are having to work. So for some reason, the muscles and tendons, ligaments, which there are many of holding the spine straight, become weak, and they can't hold the spine straight, and then it starts to collapse. So the question is, why would these muscles become weak? I think difficult to understand purely on a physical level, but Oriental medicine, macrobiotics, is looking at how the body works in terms of energy flow and through the meridian system used in acupuncture and shiatsu, and that energy is also flowing through the internal organs. And what I've seen with scoliosis is that there's a very marked depletion in energy. So the scoliosis is happening in two places. One is in the middle upper thoracic area between the shoulder blades and a bit lower down. So there's a big lack of energy in this part of the body. There may also be a scoliosis in the lower spine, created by, and what I always find then is a big lack of energy in that lower part of the body. So why would that happen? In Oriental medicine, especially what I've learned through shiatsu, is that the amount of energy in the spine reflects the amount of energy in the front of the body in the different organs. So if there's a big weakness in our lungs, then that affects the very uppermost part of our spine. And this can, and if the lungs become very weak, then often people have a posture like this because of the weakness in the spine here. Then if there's either an outward curvature or a sideways curvature more in the middle of the back between the shoulder blades, that area of the back is behind the heart and the pericardium. And what I always find with people with scoliosis in that upper part of the spine is a big weakness in the heart energy, and usually in the lung energy as well. How do I know? It's partly by learning to feel the energy, the life energy, chi, ki, prana, through years of giving shiatsu treatments and doing qigong and doing exercise, etc. One can learn to feel the energy. Also, that can manifest as reduced muscle tone. All of our muscles need to have a certain muscle tone to them. If they become too tense, then we develop tension and we can get aching and problems there, like in the shoulders and neck. It's very common. But also the muscles can lack tone. They can become very soft and spongy. And that's what happens, that's what one can feel when there's a lack of ki or chi in a certain area. The muscles can become weak and spongy and therefore not able to do their job properly. So I find invariably low heart energy in more slightly technical terms, in terms of meridians, oriental organs, also the heart protector and also the lung is well down. One might think, if you've studied some oriental medicine, that it's the kidney and bladder, particularly the bladder meridian, which is running up and down either side of the spine, and in oriental medicine the kidney and bladder is very much linked with giving energy to the spine and the spinal cord, but I don't find that is the weakness that leads to scoliosis. It kind of makes sense kind of logically using oriental medicine, but I don't find that's the case, and I've seen a lot of people with very depleted kidney bladder energy, including teenagers, and they don't have scoliosis, and I see people who have scoliosis and their kidney bladder energy is reasonable, and it's the heart lung energy that is really depleted. So that's why it's occurring in the upper chest or in the upper back. Then people may or may not have a curvature in the lower back, and I find that really depends on how much energy there is in the lower back. I'm going to talk about low back pain or about back pain in another talk, where I'll talk more about these, how different areas of the back relate to the organs in the front. And it's really what's happening with the organs in the front that is a major determinant of what's happening in the back. There's a strong front-back relationship in our body, not recognized in very simple. There's some very simple principles in Oriental medicine, like the front and the back of the body affect each other. And a lot of back problems happen because of what's happening in the front. So if there's a strong curvature in the lower back, then generally there's a weakness in the organs which are in front of that lower back, which are the kidneys at the top of the lower back, behind the lowest ribs, and also the intestines and bladder. So the amount of energy, if these organs are in good state, in balance, have a good amount of Qi in them, then that's going to help make the lower back stronger. If there's a lot of weakness in the kidney energy and in the intestines, which is so common these days, then the lower back becomes weak, and then and one result of that might be a curvature, scoliosis in the lower spine. So that is really what causes scoliosis. I suppose, or that is the energy imbalance in the body that is causing the scoliosis. Then the next question is, why are there those weaknesses in the heart, lung, intestine, kidney energy? That's a kind of broader question. Depends on all the different factors that affect our health, our food, a very big effect, our lifestyle, our emotions, how much activity, exercise we get, etc. So the interesting thing about Oriental medicine is that we might find someone has low heart energy, and there may be dietary causes, lifestyle causes, emotional causes, a whole variety of different causes of that low heart energy. And Oriental medicine takes a holistic look to find out, well, why is the heart energy low in this person? Very often it's a combination of a number of different factors. Some people it's maybe predominantly food, so other people it's predominantly emotional. Of course, if we have big emotional disturbances, holding on to a lot of strong, unexpressed, unresolved emotions, that also affects our food and our lifestyle, our food choices and our lifestyle. So it can have an effect in that way. But I would say, in general, scoliosis in macrobiotic terms would be thought of as a more yin illness, an illness due to more deficiency or a lack of Qi in the body. And one of the major contributors, or a couple of the major contributors to this, I would say number one is eating a lot of what we would call yin foods in macrobiotics, foods which have a more relaxing, opening or stimulating effect. So that includes sugar, anything with sugar in, refined sugars, which has been very high in the Western diet. Processed foods lacking in fibre, very often with sugar and other additives in. Stimulants like tea, coffee, also of course soft drinks, Coca-Cola, all the other soft drinks which contain sugar, and some of them contain stimulants. Alcohol, although not so common in teenagers, being consumed for long enough to have a big effect generally. Eating a lot of tropical fruits and fruit juices, which are nice and relaxing and opening, but also in excess can weaken the body. So those are some of the kind of main foods which lack structure and strength, and they tend to open the body, weaken the body, and deplete our energy. So if you think what happens if you drink too much alcohol, you become floppy and fall over. Some people experience if they overdrink coffee, the same thing happens. Sugar at first stimulates our energy, and then we can get a low in energy. In the end, it depletes our energy, it depletes our deep energy. From a physical point of view, sugar gives us an energy boost because sugar is what gives us energy. But in terms of qi or qi, eating sugar on a regular basis really depletes our internal energy. So those kind of foods really are a big cause of scoliosis. Unfortunately, in the Western world, and a lot of people grow up eating sugar from their first baby food all through childhood and into teenage times. And by the time they're teenagers and their spine really starts growing more quickly, there's not enough qi in the body to hold the spine straight. Quite possibly a lack of physical activity as well. Probably through our whole evolution until particularly the last few hundred years with industrialization, we've all done a lot of physical work, done a lot of breathing, running, etc., which helps strengthen the body. And a lack of physical activity can also contribute to some weakening and deficiency in the body as well. On the emotional level, it could be all kinds of different things, but again, especially when people, if we've grown up in a situation where there's a lot of fear, a lot of repression, and as children we haven't been able to discover our aliveness and our will, but our energy is more suppressed, or we're having to hold on to our energy because of fear. This can have a really depleting effect on our internal energy as well. So these are the kind of underlying causes of scoliosis from a macrobiotic point of view. So what to do about scoliosis? So I've seen quite a number of clients with scoliosis, and what I found is a combination of three things have really helped. Dietary change, cutting out all those strong yin foods and eating more complex carbohydrates, a whole food diet, whole grains, beans, vegetables, some fish, soups, good amount of minerals, etc. Natural desserts, which in Macrobiotics we make some wonderful natural desserts made primarily from fruits without needing very much sweetener. These kind of foods can just really help get a lot more qi into the body, into the heart, the kidneys, the intestines, etc. And then there's more energy in the spine. Takes time for that to take an effect, but definitely is fundamental. Secondly, I've given shiatsu treatments, long term to people with scoliosis, and found that definitely can give some help. It's not a cure-all, but it can definitely give some help. Sometimes there's some lessening of the scoliosis and stabilizing of scoliosis, because one of the dangers, particularly if people have a greater scoliosis, is that through their adulthood, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, it can gradually get worse. So I've seen that it's possible to stabilize scoliosis and stop it getting worse. Even quite severe scoliosis I've worked with. And it's been possible through diet and shiatsu to stabilize it. The third area are particular exercises to help the person use their own body muscles to correct their posture. Stretching really helps, stretching the spine upwards really helps, and also certain other exercises. So a combination of those three things. Part of the reason I thought of talking about this subject today is that I saw somebody very recently who had developing scoliosis during their teenage times. She's probably now in her late 30s, I think. It wasn't that severe, but she was recommended to have the operation of putting the titanium rods in because of the danger of it gradually getting worse during her adulthood. So I really, really, really wish that she's become interested in macrobiotics and natural medicine. I really, really wish she'd found out about this, or her parents had found out about this 20 years ago, because I'm pretty sure that she could have avoided having to have that operation. So she's still got the titanium rods in her back, which can cause some ongoing problems. So, as with many illnesses, the best time to do something about it is when it's starting. That means the parents, realizing that, or becoming interested in using a more natural approach to understanding the causes and helping the scoliosis. Mostly I've seen adults with scoliosis who've become interested in more natural healing, and have found that there really is quite a bit that can be done to help, maybe to get some improvement, and certainly to stabilize it so that it doesn't get worse. So I hope that gives you a quick kind of resume of scoliosis and what causes it, and that there is help. And if you or your child is developing scoliosis, I really, really encourage you to look for some a more natural approach to it, to help stop it progressing, maybe get some improvement, and to try and avoid the strongest kind of interventionist treatments, such as having metal rods put into the back. Of course, I'm very happy to help if anyone listening to this would like some help with the scoliosis. Thank you very much.